going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson back with the latest and greatest on the Ramblin' with Rio YouTube channel where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Today is Wednesday, October 18th, and we are now at the Week 7 portion of the NFL season. Shit is flying. We're already 7 weeks in. Washington is at 3-3. 500 so far through 6 games, and it's about where I expected the team to be at this point, but I did expect 4 wins. My expectation was 4-2. I had us winning the first 2, beating Chicago and beating the team we just beat on Sunday, the Atlanta Falcons. We should have beat the Bears, but we're still getting over that one. But we beat the Falcons in our last showing. It wasn't the greatest showing, but we got it done. We have to take wins for what they are, because I'm looking league-wide. There's only like 4 or 5 good teams in the league right now and a whole bunch of meh and question marks league-wide, and we fall right in the center of that. 3-3. Coincidentally, 3-3 is our best start under Ron Rivera through 6 games, because we've been 1-5, 2-4, and 2-4 through Ron's first 3 years. So 3-3 is actually an upgrade. We're actually ahead of schedule for Ron Rivera. This is about when the Mickey Mouse run takes place. For those new to the channel, the Mickey Mouse run is a string of games Washington puts together to usually sway and make fans feel like there's brighter days ahead. Things have changed, and we finally found the elixir to all of our problems. But then we inevitably fail again. But I feel like it could be time for the Mickey run. The only thing in the way of the Mickey Mouse run right now is the fact that we play the Eagles next week, who look very beatable, susceptible, and vulnerable this year. But it's still us. And as great, we gave them our best effort when we went to Philadelphia, and it still wasn't enough. It was a great game, though. But we got our kryptonite on the schedule this week, Week 7. The Giants, especially if Daniel Jones plays. For some reason, Daniel Jones only plays swell against Washington. He is 17-35 versus the rest of the NFL. 17 wins, 35 losses. But for some reason, when he plays Washington, he turns into Joe Montana / Michael Vick. He's unstoppable. He's cool, calm, collective, savvy, and not turnover. He's not a turnover machine when he plays Washington. For whatever reason that is, he has our number. Maybe it's because he wanted to be drafted here. I don't know what it is, but he always shows up versus Washington. He has a neck injury, so we don't know if he's going to play this week. But the Giants are kryptonite. The guy is 5-1-1 against Washington. 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. Don't take me back to that tie game last year. Tie is the worst feeling you can have as a fan. It feels like we all wasted our time watching them showing up and playing a game. 3.5 hours, 4 hours to end in no contest. Not it. Leave that for other sports like soccer and hockey. Hockey and soccer. Oh my God, I can't even talk today. Soccer and hockey. But we tied with them, and then we played that awful Sunday night game where we had 10 days to rest before playing them again and only scoring 12 on national TV. The refs were bad. And speaking of those refs, those will be the same ref crew officiating Sunday's game at MetLife Stadium. So if you're a blame the refs person, get your excuses ready. Get them ready, get them shined up, because you're going to have plenty of opportunity to bring them back out on Sunday. Me, I hate refs, but I'm not going to give the refs that much credit. Washington last year played the Giants twice in a 3-week span. Once, and then we had a bye, and then we played them again. So literally for 3 weeks, almost an entire month, 3/4 of a month, we prepared for one team to come out and score 12 points on national TV for the whole world to see. I'm not going to give the referees credit for that. The Giants are kryptonite. They always have us figured out. And my biggest fear for this week is Wink Martindale's defense. Did you see how they got after Josh Allen and company? Our quarterback has a tendency to walk into sacks. So Wink's style of defense concerns me for this week, but we're going to get into the details and the nitty-gritty of the matchup versus New York and my game preview tomorrow with Nikki Gist and Danny Behan. We're going to talk all Giants versus Commanders and what should probably be a nasty shit show of a game. I expect it to look similar to the game we played against the Falcons this week, probably with less points scored, because the Giants don't score points. They've only scored 71 points this year and haven't scored a touchdown offensively in 13 quarters. That's over 3 games for those of you doing math. But Sam Howell, our quarterback, 9th in the league in passing yards right now. 1,500. Most yards through 7 starts in franchise history. Sam Howell, the most interesting conversation to have. He's probably the most catch-22 quarterback evaluation in the league right now because of all the what they call next generation young quarterbacks. Minus CJ Stroud, Sam looks as impressive as any of them. Maybe Brock Purdy, you throw over Sam as well, but Sam, the passer, looks like a guy, a dude. Someone who's going to be here, a mainstay for this franchise for a long time. But the sack problem exists. But he does so much. He does so much well that we try to forget about it and say, this is just who he is. But it's just a matter of time before one of those sacks turns into an injury because in football, non-contact injuries happen all the time. Contact just gives you a higher probability to get hurt. And if you're getting sacked 5 times a week, one of those times a 300-pounder lands on you or lands on a specific body part the wrong way, you're in harm's way and we're putting Jacoby Brisket in the game. Yes, I call him Brisket on purpose. Brissett doesn't move the needle for me. I call him Brisket. But I want to see Sam all 17 weeks of this season. I want to see more of this. He is the most exciting thing to look forward to as a Washington fan week in and week out on Sunday. So I'm willing to ride this young quarterback ride. There's definitely more good than bad, but the bad that he does, it just sticks out like a sore thumb because he's on pace to be sacked like 89 times, and I believe the record's like 76 times. David Carr, the franchise, the expansion year of the Houston Texans. It's not a good record to set, but it's also jarring that he's balling on top of that. I need to see more out of him in EB in the coming weeks, but Sam Howell, man, he's a dude. He's got the world talking right now. Everybody's starting to notice Washington may have a guy here at quarterback. And speaking of a guy, you know who's not been a guy this year? Jahan Dotson. We were in the group chat yesterday having a Jahan Dotson conversation because like 80% of the group chat bought Jahan Dotson Vapor jerseys. I've been going on a parade all offseason of how he's a co-number 1 and he's eventually going to supplant Terry as the number 1 option on this team. And through 6 weeks, an APB is still out on Jahan Dotson. He's still missing. He has not been a factor of any sort. And I resorted to calling him Huntrell Inman in the chat yesterday. I don't know if you guys remember, he was a starter here. Ron's first year in Washington. We were starting guys named Dontrell Inman and Steven Sims Jr. opposite Terry. I called him Huntrell Inman because his production has been on that clip this year. 140 yards receiving through 6 weeks. It's been bad. He did the double donut performance on Sunday. 0 catches, 0 yards, and dropped what could have been a huge narrative shifting play because he catches that touchdown from Sam Howell. Sam Howell's day looks completely different, but we still ended up getting points on that drive. So he didn't necessarily kill a scoring opportunity, but you got to make the most of every opportunity you have. And the more you drop passes, just like you dropped a big 3rd down versus the Eagles a couple weeks ago, that is how you get phased out of the game plan. But last year, Jahan's brightest moments other than week 1 versus the Jags were the 2 games versus the Giants. He had the game tire that took us to overtime where he put the dude in the blender, put him in the spin cycle to tie the game and send us to OT at New York. And then at home, he caught the slant touchdown and he caught what should have been like an 80-yard touchdown from Heineke. Went up and mossed the opponent. Jahan Dotson had 2 of his best performances versus the Giants last year. I'd like to see them make a focal point to get him the ball this week and to get his confidence back up because I don't need Jahan Dotson looking like Josh Doxson. I don't want to relive that, and I need our first-round picks to look like first-round picks because the one we took this year is on the bench right now, riding the pine. I don't want that life for Jahan. Curtis and Terry are balling. At some point, another receiver needs to step up, and we need to have a 3-headed monster at the receiver position. And that guy is supposed to be one Jahan Dotson, Uno, the first Commanders draft pick of the new name era. But we're going to get more into the matchup tomorrow, more into the details, give some context about how we fare against New York. But I wouldn't necessarily call this a trap game because I don't think Washington's good enough to consider games trap games. Like, we're the trap in the trap game. You know what I'm saying? Trap game is for good teams, established teams, and teams with expectations when they play an inferior opponent. Washington's not good enough to call this a trap game because we just lost to the 1-5 Bears, who hold the 1 and 2 pick in the draft if it was today, 2 weeks ago. And we're just not at that point to call a game a trap game, especially versus a team that has our number and a team that never exceeds expectations. They either fall to them, they either crumble, or they don't exist. I want to see Washington go out and have a complete opponent. This New York team is not very good, but also neither are we 4 years into a build. But we're going to see how that goes. I got more for you tomorrow. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Until next time, Rio out.